All right, for the next section, 9 through 17, I'm going to add and subtract fractions and mixed numbers. I'm also going to apply SAD, same direction, add, different direction, subtract. SADS, okay? But before you add and subtract fractions, you need a common denominator. Now, if you don't know how to get a common denominator, you can just draw a T-chart. And I won't be doing this for every example because you accelerated, so I expect that you know how to find a common denominator. But like for instance, on number 9, you would just draw the T-chart. And you should be able to see that your common denominator is going to be 24 for number 9 because your denominators are 6 and 8. So you put them at the top of the T here and here. And here's the T. But if you don't know how to find it or how I'm getting these, draw the T-chart and keep skip counting until you get a multiple. Okay? So I'm going to have to change 1/6 to something over 24s and then 7/8 to something over 24s as well. So what I'm going to do is just multiply by what it takes to change a 6 to a 24. So 6 times 1, 2, 3, 4, or 6 times 4 we know is 24. If I multiply my denominator, I must also multiply my numerator by the same amount. So this ends up being 4 24s minus, keep your minus sign, 8 times what gives me 24? 1, 2, 3. Or you should just know 8 times 3 is 24. And so that won't rename. 7 times 3 is 21. Divided by or over 8 times 3, which is 24. Now I can establish direction. This is to the right. It's positive. I'm subtracting 21, so it's to the left. So because they go in different directions, I'm going to subtract. 21 minus 4 is simply 17, but it's more to the left. So my answer is negative 17 24s. And that is all you do. Again, I will not be drawing the T-charts. You should just know what the denominator is. All right, between 9 and 6 on number 10, the common denominator is 18. So I'm going to multiply this by 2 and that by 2. That's going to give me negative 4/18. I'm going to multiply this by 3 and that by 3. So negative 4/18 minus 15/18. Both of these are to the left. So same direction, you need to add. So basically, if I add, I get negative 19/18. This is improper because the larger number is on the top. And I know you're saying negative 19 isn't larger than 18. It's not. But I'm talking about looking at the absolute value of the numbers. That means without the sign, okay? So when I have an improper fraction, I'm just going to TIBO. TIBO stands for top in, bottom out. And that's what we're going to do. We're having an improper fraction. We're going to use long division. How many groups of 18 can you get out of 19? Well, that's only 1. And your remainder is 1. So your whole number is 1. And your fractional part is 1 over 18. So this negative 19/18 ends up being negative 1 and 1/18, guys. All right, let's take a look at 11. On 11, the common denominator is 24. So I'm going to multiply this by 2 and that by 2. So it'll give me 14 24s. 8 times 3 is 24. 3 times 3 is 9. So it's going to be plus negative 9 24s. Label direction. This is to the right. This is to the left. Plus negative is to the left. So I just subtract They're not the same direction, they're different directions. So I'm going to subtract. So 14 minus 9 is 5, and keep your 24. Please don't ever, ever, ever add or subtract your common denominators. Once you find a common one, please leave it. Okay, let's go down and look at number 12. Number 12, the common denominator is 20. So 4 times 5 is 20. 3 times 5 is 15. So I'm going to rename this as 15 20ths minus negative, and multiply these by 4, 16 20ths. I know to multiply by 4 because 5 times 4 is at 20. That's the common denominator. This is to the right. Minus negative is also to the right. So all I do is add these. Same direction you need to add. So that's going to give us 31 20ths. However, it's improper, so I'm just going to use long division again, or top in, bottom out. How many groups of 20 can you get out of 31? Well, that's only 1 with a remainder of 11. So this ends up being 1, and the fractional piece is 11 over 20. And that's all you do. Okay, let's take a look at number 13. The common denominator is 18, so I'm going to multiply this by 2 and that by 2. I'm going to multiply this by 9 and that by 9. All right, so let's get started. Multiplying by 9, 2 gives me 18. Multiplying by 9 gives me 18. Just to reiterate, that's how I decide what to multiply by. All right, so that's going to give me 14 18ths plus negative 15 and 9 18ths. Okay, negative, look at the whole number, negative 39. Look at the whole number, plus negative 15. Both of these are to the left. So these go in the same direction, so I'm going to add. Okay, so let's add. 14 plus 9 is 23. Keep your 18. Add your whole numbers, you get negative 54. But if you notice, you got an improper fraction. 23 18ths is improper. So I'm just going to table that part. Now keep in mind, this whole fraction is negative. Okay? So you got a whole number part and a fractional part. That fractional part is negative as well. All right, so you just don't see it because we put the negative in front of the 54. All right, I'm going to table 23 18ths. How many groups of 18 can I get out of 23? Well, that would be 1. Excuse me. How many groups of 18 can I get out of 23? That would be 1. Your remainder is 5. So this ends up being negative 54. And keep in mind, this fractional part is also negative. Plus negative 1 and 5 18ths. Which is actually negative 55 and 5 18ths. That's your final answer. All right, let's take a look at 14. 14, I noticed that I have a whole number and a fractional piece. So I'm going to put a fractional piece on the 6. So that's going to be 6. Make sure I have a common denominator. 6 and no fifths minus 3 fifths. Okay, 6 is to the right. Minus a positive number is to the left. So those go in different directions. So I'm going to subtract. But when I subtract with a mixed number, I need to stack them. The larger number on top. Because sometimes you have to regroup and sometimes you don't. Let me write this a little better. Well, I can't start off with a 0 and take away 3, so I'm going to borrow or regroup. So that becomes a 5. Take 1 from 6, it becomes a 5. I'm going to add a whole. The denominator or your fraction is in terms of fifth. You can see that by looking at your denominator. So I'm going to, the whole would be 5 over 5. So 0 fifths plus 5 fifths is just 5 fifths. And bring over your minus 3 fifths, guys. Let me get rid of that. I don't know what that is. So now I end up with 2/5 of the fractional piece, and then bring down your 5, and it's more to the right. So it is positive 5 and 2/5, guys. Just make sure when you're subtracting with mixed numbers that you stack them with the larger number on top, okay? Because sometimes you have to regroup with the mixed number, and sometimes you won't. Okay, let's look at 15. 15, I have 8 and 3/5. On this plus negative 14, I know I don't have a fractional piece. I don't see it. So I'm going to put 0/5. Using fifths because you have 3/5. So go ahead and use fifths so you have a common denominator. And then, of course, you're not changing the value of negative 14 by putting 0/5. All right, this goes to the right. This goes to the left. They go in different directions, so I'm going to subtract. When you subtract, put your larger group on top. It's more to the left. So I'm going to put that group on top. Minus 8 and 3/5. Well, I can't start off with 0 and take away 3, so I'm going to have to regroup on this one too. Okay? So I'm going to borrow 1 from 14, making it 13. But that fifth that I borrowed is just 5/5. Or the one that I borrowed is 5/5. So 0/5 plus 5/5 is just 5/5. And then subtract your 8 and 3/5. Now I have enough to subtract 3. 5/5 minus 3/5 is 2/5. And 13 minus 8 is 5. And it's more to the left. So let's make this negative 5 and 2/5. Let's take a look at number 16. On number 16, the common denominator is 6. So let's multiply both the numerator and denominator by 2. 3 times 2 gives me 6. So now I have 9 and 4/6 minus 5 and 1/6. And that's regular subtraction, guys. The larger numbers first. And you're subtracting a positive. All right, so I'm going to stack them to make sure I'm okay. 9 and 4/6 minus 5 and 1/6. Well, I can say 4 minus 1. 4 minus 1 is 3. 9 minus 5 is 4. So this is 4 and 3/6, but you can simplify. 3/6 is the same as 1/2. If you don't know that, divide both of them by a common multiple, which is 3. Let's take a look at 17. 17, the common multiple is 8, so I'm just going to say 4 times 2 will give me that 8. And multiply that by 2, so that ends up being negative 5 and 6/8. I'm going to leave this as is because it's already in terms of 8s. No need to fix something that is already what it's supposed to be. All right, establish the direction. This is to the left. Minus a negative is the same as a plus. It's to the right. So I know I'm going to have to subtract because they go in different directions. So when you subtract, stack them with the larger group on top, okay? So it's more to the right. So I'm going to put 12 and 5/8 minus 5 and 6/8. And I already see I have a problem because I can't start off with 5 and take away 6. I'm going to have to regroup on this one. So I'm going to borrow from the 12 and make it an 11. And that 1 that I borrowed is in terms of 8, so I'm going to add 8/8 to it. So that ends up being, and let me write this a little better. That's going to end up being 11 and 13/8, guys. I'm going to have to go, I got to go down here because I don't have enough room. So that's going to end up being 11 and 13/8 minus 5 and 6/8. So 13 minus 6 is 7. And 11 minus 5 is 6. And it's more to the right than it is to the left. So it's going to be positive 6 and 7/8. And just know I went down here. All right, and that's it for this video, guys. Thank you.